Alright y'all, today I'm going to be doing a video on fletching an arrow using the Arizona mini jig, a product called Zing primer, 3 flex fletch vanes, Loctite super glue, control gel, the black with the blue top, that's the rubberized formula, an arrow wrap, the 91% alcohol, and a mason jar full of acetone. First thing you want to do is put the wrap on. It's easy enough. Basically, you just take your wrap, peel it off the back, and lay it sticky side up. Then what you want to do is this edge of the wrap here, you want all the way at the back of your shaft. Now I have a unibushing, so you would just start where the carbon is in my case. Once you line it up, you want to make sure it's running parallel to the wrap so that way it goes on square. And then you just push down and roll across the mouse pad. Now once you get to here, just take your finger, run it down the seam to make sure you got good contact with the shaft itself. And just, you know, I like to rub the seam here just to make sure it's on there. Next thing I do is just take 91% alcohol, just a little bit, and just wipe the wrap down. Now the reason you use alcohol, not acetone, for this is because if you have ink on your wrap, you don't want the acetone eating away at the ink. So while I let this sit for a minute, I'm going to grab the knock for the arrow. Alright, once the knock's in place, all you're going to do is, if you can see here, there's a metal locking pin inside this groove. Basically what you want to do is push it and then turn it to the left to lock it down, push it, turn it to the right to lock it open. Alright, once it's open, just take your arrow shaft, push it down. You might have to kind of help it spread apart a little bit. Push it down inside there and make sure that knock lines into the receiver. Once the knock's in the receiver, just set that aside for a minute. Which leads me to the next thing. This is Zing. People know that there have been adhesion problems with flex fletch vanes. Therefore, Flex Fletch has invented Zing, which is a primer. That means no more scrubbing up the base or wiping it with acetone. You just take the applicator brush with a little bit on it, rub it across the base, and just let it dry. It says about 20 seconds. But usually by the time you have them all wiped down, they're already ready to put glue on them. Alright. Also, when you screw your cap back on your Zing, make sure it's tight because it will evaporate. I had a whole bottle I left just a little loose, didn't realize it. Over a 2-day time period, the entire bottle dried up. Now once you have your Zing put on there, just take your super glue and just run a fine bead right down the center. You're going to just set it down and do all 3 at once. The nice thing about this super glue control gel is that it is a rubberized formula, so it takes a minute for it to dry, which is nice. So that way you can go ahead and do all 3, plus I'll show you at the end an additional benefit of it. Now once you have the super glue on the vanes, you just set the vanes in the slots. Now once the vanes are in the slots, all you want to do is right here, that metal locking pin, push up, rotate, and just slowly let it down. You don't want to let it just fling down because it'll move your fletchings out. Now you put the cap over the arrow through the hole, and bring it down, and there are notches on the cap, and there's this notch, and you just line them up and just push down, and then you let it sit for a minute. Alright, now after they sat a minute, all you have to do, you pull the cap back off the arrow, push the bottom end, rotate it so it locks in the open position, pull down your arms, and remove the arrow. Now, the nice thing about that super glue control gel is that it is slow drying. Therefore, now's the time, and it also leaves no white residue, but now's the time you can take a Q-tip, just run it along the edge of the vein to pick up the excess glue that's left on it. Which, if you use a real small amount of glue, shouldn't be that much, but it just makes for a real clean look. Another thing about the gel is that also, I haven't found it to want to run the ink in some super glue gels you use. As you're wiping it off, you will see where it's actually pulling ink off of the wrap if you use a wrap. Alright, so once you're done, I don't know how well this is going to pick up, but you can see that another nice thing about that Arizona Mini is the helical that it actually gives the little 2-inch style hunting vanes, which is the maximum length that this one can handle, but they do make a longer version you can use, I believe, up to 5 inches. Now after that's done, you don't want any of the glue you had that came squeezed out from the bottom or top of the vane to just sit on these arms. If it just sits on these arms, it'll just clump up and make it a little bit more difficult to fletch next time. So what I have here is a mason jar I just filled with acetone. I just take this up, set it down inside, and let it sit for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you can take it off. Most of the acetone will air dry by itself, but you can just take a wet rag, wipe it down, and it'll be good to go for the next time, completely clean. Anyways, I hope this helps some of y'all. Bye.